Hi there. Welcome to Infinite Stories. This is the podcast where we sit down and interview everyday people just like you and me. This is your host, Mitchell Vine, and boy, do we have an incredible story for you. Let's jump into this week's interview. Well, let's get the first question out of the way. What's your name?
My name is Selah Ulmer.
All right, Selah. And where are you from, like originally? Where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Kansas City, but I am originally from Cedar Rapids. I lived most of my life here. Here for me.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's shed a little light on what it looked like for you growing up. What was it like being a kid growing up in Cedar Rapids?
That is a good question. So I'm from a big family. I'm the oldest of seven, so I grew up with a lot of chaos around me. Good chaos. Yeah, very fun. I wasn't bored. That's what I remember about being a kid. I was very rarely bored. Mhm.
Well, can you like describe like a story that you could think of what that chaos kind of depicts for
Yeah,
anybody who doesn't know what a big family is like? I
yeah, I
know
guess
exactly
it's
what it's like. I've got 10 siblings, so I get it
okay, fine. You win. Whatever.
a little
Um,
bit.
yeah, I cannot imagine actually adding in even more to our family. That would be crazy, actually. Wow. Yeah, that would have been a lot. So props to your parents. Good for them. Um, yeah, I guess I was homeschooled for elementary school and then part of middle school. So when I think about my childhood and things being chaotic, I just think about like the school day and how there were a million of us doing a million different things at one time. And my mom was somehow managing all of it and feeding a baby and breaking up a fight, and then sending us all outside to go and run off all the energy. So just a lot happening all of the time. But it was good. You know, it was really fun. And I feel like I am the like textbook definition of an oldest child. So I always wanted to help. So I wanted to help take care of the babies and I wanted to help break up the fights. And my siblings called me bossy, but I really don't think that's a fair word. I think it was just helpful, you know?
My one older sister just popped right into my mind. I was like, I'm not bossy, I'm just right. And I was like, well, you're a little bit of both, so we can at least agree on half of what you said.
Yeah, I mean, to
But,
some people it's bossy, to other people it's just leadership, you know.
mm,
Mm.
yeah, not servant leadership, but maybe.
Hey,
Um,
I was 11, you know, you gotta learn.
you didn't start out as 11, right? So
Well,
how
true.
how
That's
long?
the age I'm picturing in my head of when the bossy really set in. So,
Gotcha. Well, that
hmm
kind of leads into maybe our next question. Can you
okay.
think of a time where you encountered sin for the first time? Like, was it something that you grew up, you knew what you were doing and you knew it was wrong? Or was it something that just kind of shocked you when it started to be like, oh, this is bad. I know this is bad.
Ooh. Um, I mean, it shows up pretty quick. If anybody's ever met a toddler, then you'll see it. Um, yeah, I have a vague memory. I was probably like four, maybe five, and I don't remember what I had done. I think I lied. That could be wrong. But I just remember standing in the living room with my dad and having to admit what I had done, and just everything in me wanted to not deal with it and just be like,
Mm,
nope, that wasn't me. I didn't do that. So I wanted to lie about lying. And yeah, like I don't think I really understood exactly what was going on, but I remember that feeling of just like, this is not good. And I know that it's my fault, but I really don't want to wrestle with the fact that it's my fault.
mm. Was that something that kind of snowballed through life? Like, was that something that kind of grew in part of your character?
Yeah, I think so. I I guess we're gonna skip ahead a little bit in the story. As I think about becoming like a preteen and then a teenager, I was always really scared of making mistakes because I didn't want to do anything wrong. Um, and I knew that I couldn't not make mistakes because that's part of life, but I really, really, really wanted to try to make as few as possible.
Mm, that's very relatable. I wish it wasn't relatable, but it's very relatable.
I'm sorry. Yeah, if you relate to that, then you have my sympathies.
I told someone a while back ago that I am a recovering perfectionist, and they
Okay.
kind of just like cocked their head a little bit. I'm like, no, trust me, you got to recover from it. There was
Uh-huh.
a lifetime of practicing
Mm-hmm.
perfectionism, and I remember very clearly the day that I realized that I couldn't do it perfectly, and the people that I thought were doing things perfectly, they were just as broken as I was,
Mm-hmm.
and there was just an explosion of, well, everything that I've been working towards definitely doesn't mean anything, and how do I actually carry on my life if perfectionism isn't what I'm
Uh-huh.
striving for? So,
Yes. I think I
yes, I
have
get.
used the words recovering perfectionist verbatim before, actually. So I get that. Yeah. It's a losing battle. And when you have that moment of going, oh crap, I actually can't do this, then it really does feel like part of you shatters and you're going, well, then what the heck was I trying to do all this time? All that
Hmm.
wasted effort. And then you go, wait, I wasn't perfect. Oh my gosh. It's,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. And even, and we'll talk about this hopefully a little bit later too, but even like that lie of believing that that's what God expects from us. He
Mm,
expects that perfectionist
yeah.
side of things, which is just so far from the truth, but I can't get into that yet. We're not there yet.
You can't get to
So,
like the happy, like, redemption part yet. We're not there.
no, no, let's talk about the crap.
Awesome.
Actually, kind of moving up a little farther, as you look back in your childhood and maybe in your teens, preteens, like you were saying too, was there any mentors or guides or teachers that you had growing up that like stick out in your mind? Like, man, these people, they taught me so much that I still think about to this day. You have anybody that comes to mind?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my parents are definitely up there. They're wonderful people, and they really taught me what it means to not only follow God, but like how to love God. And so my dad's
Mm,
a pastor. So I grew up pastor's kid, and they did such a good job. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yep. It's its own thing. It's definitely a thing. But I was so blessed because they did it so well. And like I grew up with a genuine love for the Lord and like a real relationship with him. So my parents are definitely up there. And then I would say too, when I was 7, I think 7, we moved so my dad could pastor a new church plant, and some family friends were part of that plant. And so I knew them, but moving and then being with them every week, we became very, very close. They were like an additional set of grandparents, which I already had 2 great sets of grandparents, so I got a third, and it's like, wow, that's so great. But they really poured into me and all my siblings. I think both of them were Sunday school teachers at one point for me, and yeah, they showed me what it looks like to practically love God and how that spills into loving people.
mm. Yes, the natural response. Well, supernatural
Hmm.
response, but yeah. Mm,
Yes.
that's really
Yeah.
good. That's really
Hmm.
good. Well, let's go back to the crappy side of things. What were some of the lies that you believed about yourself growing up?
Oh gosh. How much time do you have? um,
Uh,
yeah, exactly. Um, I think really the biggest one really comes down to that idea of wanting to be perfect and believing that that's what God wanted of me. Um, so yeah, that I think that is like the core lie, and then there are lots of other little lies that spin off of that, like I can be perfect or I'm better than other people, and pride works its way in there really, really fast. And also, like I think I believed that I had more responsibility for other people than I actually do. Or did.
Hmm.
And so just like taking that on as like, oh, it's my responsibility to make sure that like this person's okay and that this person is happy. And yeah, that somehow I even can, right, have influence over that. And then out of that believing that you can, you start believing that you have to. So those are the two that come to mind the most. I'm sure there were
Mm.
more. I'm sure there were more.
I completely agree. I know we definitely don't have enough time to talk about all of them, but if you sat down and you did like a spiritual inventory, right, of just like
Mm,
everything that you recall going back into, and like I know there's different programs and stuff that I've been a part of where like just sitting down and going over all the different lies that you've believed about yourself, or just the different sins and everything that you've wrestled with, like sitting down with that and then just like handing that back over to God is
mm,
such a refreshing process, because it's just allowing the gospel to do what the gospel is supposed to do. Because
mm-hmm,
holding on to all those lies, holding on to everything that has just been weighing you down for so long, ever since childhood, that you thought it was back then, I don't think about it anymore, it doesn't affect me anymore, when in reality, everything sin wise affects in some shape or form if the gospel
mm-hmm,
is not doing what the gospel is supposed to be doing. And we need to make sure that we are allowing the gospel to transform our hearts inside and out, and our minds,
mm-hmm,
and just everything about us. So that's really good. So then, kind of
mm-hmm.
in response to those lies that you did believe, what is the truth to counter react those lies that you did believe?
Yeah. Um, and I totally agree with like what you're saying, because I think that process of taking the lies and then bringing the truth to it, and letting the gospel do its work is so important, because it's way easier to just be like, oh, that's when I was younger, that's when I was a kid, that's when I was a teenager, and I'm good now,
Mm,
and I'm gonna move on, because it's painful to go back into that. But if you
mm,
don't, it's like an infection, it's just gonna get worse and worse and worse unless you treat it. And so I think that is a lot of the process of sanctification. Is like, one counselor that I've talked to described it as like you're making all of the parts of your heart like piece by piece become disciples of Jesus. And I thought that was a really cool way to like phrase
mm.
it, where
It's a good picture.
because right, yeah, it's a really good visual, because you have, it's like I believe in Jesus and he's saved me, and now he's been like, yes, and I want every single part of your heart that has been hurt either by your own sin or someone else's sin, or some really bad combination of the two. um, and he wants to heal it all, which is really cool. So as a long introduction to answer your question, yeah, what I came to understand, as a process, as a teenager and then as an adult, was that truth of I can't be perfect and God's not asking me to. And that was the most freeing thing for me, I think, because if it stopped at just I can't be perfect, and we said this a little bit already, then that's just crushing, because you're going all that work for nothing and it didn't do anything, and it's so frustrating. But when you realize God's not asking that of you, and for me it was like, oh, God's not looking at me just waiting for me to make a mistake, and then he's going to get mad, recognizing that he actually loves me and likes me and wants the best for me as I am, and who he's created
Mm,
me to be, not just this version I have in my head of like, if I can get to this point, then I'm going to be worthy, right? Because that's really what the core of it
mm,
is. It's like, I want to believe that I'm worthy. And he already took care of all that on the cross before I was even around. So,
mm. That's so good. That's so good. So then the question that a lot of people typically ask is, do you have an aha moment or a salvation
mhm.
memory within your story?
Yeah. Kind of yes and no. So I
Okay.
became a believer when I was very young. And what actually sticks out to me the most from that time frame, around the same time that I remember lying and not wanting to admit it, um, was actually going forward. So grew up in a Baptist church. So, he like walk up to the front of the church and response time at the end after the sermon. And um, I really wanted to be baptized, and I made that decision. Nobody had prompted me to do it. I just knew like I really want to do this. And so I remember being really intimidated. I mean, you're six, right? And it's this big church, and walking down there by myself, but I really wanted to do that. And so um, that really sticks out to me. And I really did love Jesus and was very sincere in that. But, you're a kid
Mm,
and you don't really understand everything yet. It takes time. So I would say the summer after my junior year of high school is really when I had, I would say, like a moment of realizing that I hadn't actually given everything to Jesus, um, and that I needed to be either all in or not in at all. But I was kind of in this weird, like, I'm in, but I'm not. Like, I'm trying some other stuff out too. You know, it was like I started going to public school a few years before, and was just looking for affirmation. And so I was trying to be the best at things, and I was not hanging out with the best people, and just like I was on the edge of making some really bad decisions. And so that summer, after after my junior year, I was on a mission trip and just had this moment with the Lord in a McDonald's bathroom in downtown Minneapolis. And I'm like crying, and just realizing, oh my gosh, I have messed up really, really bad. And just, feeling so much shame. And I remember the Lord was just so kind, and there wasn't any of the condemnation that I was afraid of. And it was just like, now that you are willing to recognize your own sin and give it to me and receive forgiveness, like now we can move on and move forward. I was like, oh, really? Like, I feel like I should be in more trouble, and it was, yeah. But I wasn't. So, yeah, that was the point that changed for me, where I was all in.
Hmm. Well, what changed then? So how did you see the gospel actually change your heart, change your mind? How did that play out?
Hmm. Um, I think experiencing that forgiveness and grace, um, that's what changed it for me. Because instead of it being a list of things I needed to do, that's what I think my relationship with God had been up until that point, especially as a teenager. It was just easy for it to be like I read my Bible and I prayed and I went to church and I went to youth group. I went to everything because I was a pastor's kid. So, it's like I'm doing all of the things, um, but that intimacy was not really there. And then after that moment of experiencing God's love, that is when I was in the Word all the time, and I was journaling and actually like really praying instead of just like, God, this is what I want. Because that's what a lot of my
Mm,
prayers have been up until that point. I was like, can you like make this happen for me? They changed, and like my thought process about things started to change, and what I wanted to put my time towards, just it changed everything, changed the direction of my
mm.
life.
Do you enjoy that change?
Oh yeah. My senior year was so great. My junior year sucked. It was horrible. It was so bad. And so I think back and I'm like, wow, if I would never, ever, like you could not pay me enough money to relive that year. And so the shift between that year and my senior year was night and day. My senior year was so
Mm,
great. And so much of that is because my heart was finally in the right place. And I was actually focused on Jesus first. And so everything else kind of worked itself out too.
mm. Have you noticed that to be a theme in other people's stories that you've listened to? Like as soon as the redemption actually happens, it's not, it's, I don't want to like tap into the prosperity gospel by any means, but like there is such a genuine contentment and enjoyment in
Mhm.
Christ that no matter what the circumstances that have actually, whether they've changed or not for the good or
Mhm.
worse, like God is still good. The gospel is still good. And because
Mhm.
my heart has been radically transformed, I can walk into this room where anxiety and fear would be so inducing on a typical Sunday. When after that shift happens, you can walk in there with such a joy and such a peace that definitely wasn't there
Mhm.
before. And that's only fruit that could be produced by the Holy Spirit. It's not something that we
Mhm.
can manufacture on our own strength. And so like hearing that aspect of that change of like you could not pay me enough money to go back and live that year again.
Mhm.
Good. You should never desire that. You shouldn't. But like that's such a normal reality, especially for believers, that a lot of people have that idea of like the get out of jail free card, right? It's like, I'm
Mhm.
not going to hell anymore, but I'm still going to live however I want to live. When
Mhm.
in reality, that is such a, I mean, it's a demented way of thinking, and it's it's such contradiction to what the gospel is, because when the gospel comes into your life, it shifts everything. Like, there,
Mhm.
you are completely a new person. Your story was this way, now it's this way. Like, things
Mhm.
shift and change, and they need to, or else the gospel didn't actually have its way with you. And
Mhm.
if it didn't have its way with you, there should be a genuine repentance involved of, I need to align with the gospel. I need to align with what Jesus has actually done for me. And I heard that so clearly when you said you could not pay me enough to do that again. Like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't. That
No.
means that the gospel has had its way with you. And that should be so encouraging for anybody listening to this, of just like that idea of like, yeah, you couldn't pay me to go back and be the person that I was again. That was not
Yeah.
enjoyable. And it was empty. Like, there was no true pleasure, no true joy, no purpose. Just those lies that we would believe. Like, there's nothing good about that life that I would want to go back to, which is good. That's so good, and that's just to affirm that again. It's just, people need to be reminded of that. I need to be reminded of that. The old man that has died and passed away. Like, my dad, he was a pastor as well, so I'm a pastor's kid. So again, relate to on that. Homeschooled
Uh-huh.
as well, so we don't need to go into all the similarities, but
It
um,
sounds like there's a lot.
yeah, tons. But my dad always had this one sermon when it was talking about putting off the old self, and when that sinful self has died, it's like a dead
Mhm.
body on the floor. And so he would always have someone get up on the stage and play dead on the floor. And then he would
Interesting.
get another person to come up on the stage and be like, all right, so your mom just told you to not take that cookie right there on the counter, but you want that. But you've also experienced the gospel, and the gospel has changed you. But you really want that cookie. So what the picture is you need to take the dead self, the dead body on the floor, and you need to put that on your back in
Mm.
order for you to grab that cookie that you want. That's how painful of a process it should be when we choose to sin from here on out. And it should
Mm.
not be an easy, well, I used to do this a lot,
Mhm.
I'm just going to keep doing it. It should
Mhm.
be a long and painful process for us to want to hurt and dishonor our king,
Yeah.
realistically. And so that's one of the few sermon analogies I still remember from my Baptist church days
Mm.
too. Yeah,
I was
Baptist
gonna
church
ask
too.
you, was it a Baptist church?
Yeah, sure was. Sure was.
Oh man, we might have to have a separate conversation about that.
Yeah, I'm a recovering Baptist too. No.
Okay. Yep.
Oh man.
It's
Oh
a thing.
man. Okay. It is. It is. Okay. Well then, now that we have made that shift from your old self to your new self in the story, do you see yourself as a guide or a mentor to other people who are a little farther back on the story than you are? How do you see that play
Mm.
out in your life, or
Yeah.
have ever since then?
Oh gosh, yeah. That's a good question. Also, I want to go back to something you said because as you were talking, like even before you said that analogy, death to life is exactly what was coming to my mind. And I think that, yeah, that piece is sometimes like it's so constant in the gospels, but we forget it, that it's like we are not the same people that we were. We have literally been brought to life. You're a new creation. And repentance is literally turning. It's not, I'm adding Jesus into my old life. It is turning, and it's turning from the life that's killing you. And so,
Mm,
yeah, it's literally new life. And it's not like it all gets great afterwards. Like there is plenty of crap that comes in the story after. Like the hardest trials that I've walked through all came after. So it is not like, it's
hmm
not like it all gets easy, but it's like you're alive, and that's why I would pick what I've walked through with Christ, even though some of it has been so awful, and you probably couldn't pay me to relive some of that either. But he was with
Hmm.
me, and that's why it was bearable. And so, like, I would take that over my junior year any day, no problem. So, um, yeah, not even a question. But anyway, to pivot and answer your question, yeah, I have found myself in a lot of different discipleship roles over the years. I work for a nonprofit right now where I work with kids and tell them about Jesus. Worked with youth groups and kids and done a lot of ministry things over the years, Bible studies, and some of that is just because I really like to talk about the Bible, and so you just gravitate towards other people who want to hear about the Bible, and you start talking to
Hmm.
them, and if they don't want to listen, they'll leave. So, um, yeah, I've found myself in many roles doing that, and have loved it. It's been great.
Hmm. Have you gotten to interact with any students or any other people that have wrestled with the same lies that you have, and even wrestled with some of the same sin and the trials and conflict that you have as
Mm,
well?
yeah, that is a good question. I know that I'm trying to think through. Yeah, yep. Now that I'm thinking about it. Well, okay, so I mean, most teen girls at some point are going to walk through this idea of like, I'm not enough. And not everybody's going to lean the perfectionist route, but a lot do. So that has definitely been something I've been able to connect with a lot of people over. And obviously, it's not just teen girls, but it is a big thing for teen girls. So, um, yeah, definitely have found a lot of connection pieces in that. And actually, last summer I was at youth camp and had the chance to be one of their, not like their main speakers, but they had different leaders sharing their stories throughout the week.
Hmm.
And I got to share mine, and that responsibility piece of feeling like you're overly responsible for other people really connected with a lot of the people there. And I had a lot of people talk to me about that. So that was kind of cool to see that others could relate to that, and I could kind of share how God had worked through that in me.
Hmm. That's good. That's so good. So then, do you notice that the redemption is still actively working in you? And like when you are having these conversations with these different students or with anybody that you interact with, that you have that hope and you have that light now, and it's not just like, man, you're not just operating out of that year experience. Like
Mm-mm.
you couldn't help anybody in that time frame, but
Oh
now you can
gosh.
actually you can point them towards the one who led you out of that horrible time in that season of life, and just that mentality as well. Like it's really interesting to see. Like you might not have struggled with this, but this was something that I wrestled with a lot in my life. Was just that idea. No, you kind of mentioned it earlier with big sibling syndrome, but just like wanting to help so badly that you would get to a point where you would get very manipulative and controlling as well, because you want to help them so badly that you are guiding and leading their decision making with whatever strategies used, but that still never comes out of a good place. Like that, there is so much pride that comes out of that as well. And so just hearing how you've interacted with students and everything, and just because I already know you outside of the podcast as well. Like I know the connections and the stories that you've gotten to have with students already, and I've gotten to see that, and I've witnessed that. So that's a testimony to what God is actively doing in your life and what He will continue to do throughout this life, and then you can just rejoice for the rest of the next life, and you won't have to worry about perfectionism because you'll be perfect at that point in time. So
That's
that
true.
is really uh, that's really kind of, it's very relaxing for me to just think about what God is doing on our behalf, whether we're actually doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
um, um,
Yes.
but that was the thought that came into my mind. All right, so question then: are you more a book person or a movie person?
All of the above. How do you?
Okay, well, the next question kind of goes off of whichever one you would choose.
That feels like an impossible choice.
Okay, so
I
if
really
there
don't think
was a
that's a fair question for
book,
you to ask. I don't.
Okay, well then I'll just put them both together for the question
Perfect. Thank
following
you.
then. If there was a movie made about the book of your life, what would the title be?
Okay. Um, that one is a really difficult question to answer, but I'm going to shift it a little bit actually, because I, for a very long time, have actually like seen my life as a TV show, which sounds ridiculous,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's just like I will literally be like observing what's going on in my life, and I'm like, that would be a mid-season finale, I think. Or like we're like this season's kind of boring. I say that one a lot. Where I'm like, this is boring.
We need some new character arcs in here.
Yes, and like we need to spice stuff up. But then something happens. You're like, that was a great little cameo appearance. So it keeps it interesting. Gosh, that is a really hard question, though. I don't know what I would have it be called. Huh. I might need to think on that for a second.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay. And everybody else who's listening can just sit here in silence while I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. I'm not going to edit this. They'll just all sit here in silence as we wait for your answer.
Great.
It's okay.
I love it. I think it would have something to do with grace. Um,
Okay.
just as I think through that desire to be perfect, but really wanting to just feel worthy. And thinking back to that moment in that McDonald's bathroom, which was really gross, by the way, as you would expect it to be
Most
in
are.
downtown Minneapolis. Yeah.
Yeah.
um, but sin is gross, so it's a good spot to deal with it. Um, but what I experienced from the Lord was just so much grace. It's like grace is undeserved favor. And that has just been so much of my life. Like God has just been so graceful to me, even though I don't deserve it and I can't earn that. And so, yeah, something to do with grace. I don't know.
Okay, we've
You're the
got one
creative.
word.
Yeah, help me figure it
I
out.
can't. I can't pick it out for you.
Just help me come up with
The
it.
way my brain thinks of like Grace in the McDonald's bathroom or something like that. I mean,
I don't
you
think
got to
you could
connect.
call the I don't think you can call the whole show though that because it goes on quite, that was a while ago.
That's true. That's true. I mean, Grace every day or something like that. As something continuous.
That's a little generic, but it's
This is
okay.
your life movie,
I
not
know.
mine. You can pick
I
whatever you
know.
want.
I know. Gosh. Hmm. I am really bad with on the spot stuff like this. So this is not
Well,
my
you've done great up
forte.
until this point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
um, yeah, I think I mean, I can't think of anything better, so we can go with that. Let's go
Grace in
with
the
never
McDonald's parking
ending.
lot?
No.
Okay.
No,
Oh,
because then
dang.
you'd have to I'd have to be at McDonald's a lot, and I don't ever go to McDonald's. It's gross.
Okay, so what's the final answer then?
Let's go with never ending grace.
Okay,
Yes.
good, good,
Yes.
good. Okay,
Glad I got through that
good.
part. That was hard.
Me too, me too. That's okay. It's totally okay. Okay, got two more questions for you. First one
Okay.
is, what would you say to someone who is scared or intimidated to share their story?
Hmm. Um, man, I think people are scared to share their stories for different reasons. Um, so that would it would depend on who I was talking to, I guess. Um,
Mm,
but I think I would just want to encourage anybody who knows they have something that they need to say and they are afraid for whatever reason. Um, like if God's given you a story, then like you have the privilege and the responsibility to share it. Um, it's not just for us to keep to ourselves. Um,
mm,
and you don't have to share it all. I think that sometimes people fall into this trap of thinking like, man, if I share my story, I have to go and do all of it and like the nitty gritty and I don't know if I'm ready for that. It's like, it's really not about us, right? It's like, you just need to share like what the Lord has done. And it can be
Mm,
as simple as like, I was this way and now I'm this way. And Jesus is, like Jesus changed me. Or maybe you want to go into it all. That's great. But yeah, I think I would just encourage anybody to see that as the privilege and responsibility to share like what God has done in their life and see that it does actually help other people to hear it. Because I think about like what's encouraged me in seasons that have been really hard. It's people who have walked through that same thing and come out the other side and who
mm,
share that with me. And they're like, keep going, don't give up. God is with you. And, um, he will answer you. He will help you. He will take care of you. And I know that because he did it for me. Right. And we need that. We need other people's stories. And, in Revelation, it says like, we will overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Like that's a
mm-hmm.
big deal. Like there's power in us sharing what God has done, and he uses that. He speaks through other people. So yeah, I would give him a little mini lecture just like that. And I'd be like, you can do it. Go for it. Like, it's not that scary, right? What's the worst
It
that can
can
happen?
be, but it depends
That's
on
true.
your intention behind it as well. That's the one
That's
thing
true.
that I've definitely learned is just if you're actually doing it to glorify your God and your King, you're gonna nail it because
Mm-hmm.
whatever you say, if you're pointing back to him, he is going to be honored and glorified. But if you're going the other
Yeah.
route and you're trying to make yourself look super great and be the hero of the story, he's gonna humble you, and it's not gonna go
Yes.
well, and it's not
That
gonna.
never works.
No, not one
That,
bit.
yeah.
I've
No.
practiced that for a long time, and I can
Yeah.
say with 100% guarantee, it's just not worth it in the end. It's wasted time and breath,
I would
honestly.
agree. Yeah, I would definitely agree. Yep. Done that too. Not great. Wouldn't recommend.
Nope.
Yeah.
1 out of 10 would not recommend.
0 out of
Okay,
10
well,
would not
zero.
recommend.
Oh, yes. Yeah, sorry. I forgot that you can use the number zero in the rate. No, you can't. You have to at least pick one. That's like the lowest rating.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. I guess I can't picture like the ability to not put any stars up for a rating. I thought you had to at least pick one.
I mean, if it's really, really
I don't
bad,
know. I don't know.
it's
Not
your
important to
podcast.
the
You can do whatever you
conversation.
want.
I guess, yeah, I know, but I don't know. I don't know. We've got one last question, and it's my favorite, but
Okay.
it was not my idea. So, is there anything else? Is there anything else that you sense the Holy Spirit wants you to share for the benefit of anybody who would hear this podcast?
That is a really great question. Um, yeah, I, so I've been thinking about this a lot. So I turned 30 this year, which is really weird. Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yay, I think. I don't know. Um, it's gonna happen either way. So, um, but I've just been thinking about like, man, what would I say to myself when I was turning 20 or 22 or whatever? And what keeps coming to my mind is just like pursue wholeness. Um, and I think that's what I would just encourage anybody who, I mean, if you're not walking with the Lord, like figure that out. That would be my first piece of advice is like figure that out. But then like pursue wholeness. And what I mean by that is just like going back to that picture of Jesus healing your whole heart. Just like give him all of it and trust him to heal even like the deepest parts that are hurt that you might not even realize are there. Um, but there's just so much freedom that he has for us. And I think we don't even tap into it. And sometimes that's because we just don't even realize, like, wow, it's not just this get out of jail free card where I'm going to heaven. Like, he really does want to be
Mm,
involved in all of it and everything. And I just think, like, really over the last year and a half, like, that has just been something that God has done in me is like, he's just brought me so much freedom from so many things that I didn't even realize I was still carrying. I've been a Christian a long time. It's like McDonald's bathroom was, gosh, how long ago was that? Like 13 years ago or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I was really little when I first came to know the Lord, and so like I've been a Christian most of my life, and yet like there's still so much that God is doing in me, and it has been really amazing to watch. Where I'm like, wow, I never thought that I would be free from like anxiety over that, but I am. Like I never thought I'd be able to step back and say like, no, God, you have control over that, and I am not going to try to take control back and mean it, but I can. And that has just been really cool. I feel like the Lord's just taking me to this like next level of dependence on him and freedom. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I would just encourage anybody to like pursue that with everything that you have, because he will meet you there. And he just has more for us. I think we settle for a
Mm-hmm.
lot less, but he really does have more available for us.
Mm. That's good. That's really good. That was a nice little bow. I like that. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well,
Mm-hmm.
we've made it to the end. You did it.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, I always end the podcast with a high five with my guest.
Okay.
So the best way to do that would kind of be to like do it towards the camera, if that makes
Okay.
sense. But we'll have
Yeah.
to count down so it actually like lines
Kind of
up. You know what I
works.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Are you
You count
ready?
it down. Ready.
Yep. Three, two, one.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's Infinite Story. If it resonated with you, send it to someone you think would be blessed by it. If you would like to share your story, please reach out to us at infiniteideas.studio. You never know how far the impact of your story can reach. Take care now.